I never really talked about the plugins I'm using to actually make drum and bass and focus on atmospheric drum and bass, and I would love to do so and take this opportunity. On the other hand, the plugins I'm talking about are no particular sequence. It's just like things and stuff I don't see usually in top lists of other lists on YouTube, so that's why I want to talk about these ones. Plus, they do something very specific task in my chain and maybe have some creative input I'm doing. And again, there's no specific sequence, and I want to show you instruments as well as effects, so everything just that comes to my mind when it's about plugins and stuff that happens in my DAW, in my workstation. So let's jump in there and open Bitwig, because usually new idea starts with Bitwig in my case. So very often a new idea starts with Kilohearts Phase Plant. So let me open that one and show you why is that. And I just open any preset I can find in a second. Oh my god, my computer has to fight hard, because that's a downside of Faceplant. The GUI for some reason is not really quite performant on at least an Intel Mac. This is what I've discovered. Nevertheless, I think it's worth the hassle with closing the plugin or maybe even bouncing it, because there's so many interesting presets in there I just find, and also it's one of the few plugins I'm having a subscription. Because with the subscription, you usually get also the latest packs that are developed by third-party guys, and it really enriches my sounds what I'm able to do so. So check out Faceplant. It's of course also a very quite interesting semi-modular synthesizer, but so far I think it's a hidden weapon of mass creation. Then number 2, let me just open one of my recent projects I'm doing for Omni Music, and you see how a project looks like when a track is almost finished. So you see the drum and the bass in one group, you see my melodies in one group and effects in one group. But just focusing on this one, I was adding the drums and the bass into one group because it needed some kind of limiting. So the track will be released soon, hopefully. But the point here is Fabfilter Pro-L. Yes, I think everyone knows Fabfilter plugins, and also the compressor and all other plugins are quite awesome, but particularly the Pro-L I'm using a lot because it's really transparent. It's my go-to limiter for all the problems usually you can solve with limiting. And on the other hand, especially with Bitwig, there are so many tools that already come with the tool itself, and just recently, at least in my opinion, I get faster results with the Bitwig built-in Compressor Plus than with the compressor from Fabfilter. But still, the Pro-L I'm using in almost every mix, or if not in every mix, and especially on the drums, just to handle the peaks, of course. So Fabfilter Pro-L, but I think this is quite obvious, so it's no real secret, right? But another tool that is maybe not so common is my Korg M1. And why I'm showing the Korg M1 is the following reason. The whole line of Korg plugins, in my opinion, is just timeless. They're classics, and it started with the M1, in my opinion. I also having the Wave Station, and just recently I purchased the Wave State in a summer sale. I still have to discover that one, but the M1 is my go-to plugin when it comes to classic atmospheric drum and bass pads and sounds, etc. when I'm not using my outboard gear. But especially this one has so many built-in sounds you can go to and have a quite good foundation for creating tracks going into the music we love so much. So check out the M1, and I think you should just get it in any summer sale or discount time period, however you call that one, and just enrich your collection of plugins. So once I've done the track, and right, you have just seen here my Omni Music track I was working on, then usually I head over to Logic, and it doesn't really matter that it's Logic, but because I like Logic, but in Logic itself, I have my mastering preset, and I show this to you in a second. Then in Logic, usually what happens is either I create a new mastering project from the template, or of course I have the project already, and I might have changed something now in the track, so I paste it again into my template in here. It looks like this, coming up with Ozone, and Ozone is my go-to mastering tool. Again, Ozone might not be unknown to most of you guys, but on the other hand, I'm using Ozone already for I think 15-16 years or so. Started with, I think, with Ozone 4 and upgraded it since then. But on the other hand, you don't need all the latest versions. This is Ozone 9, so I'm missing all the AI stuff that is happening currently in the mastering. I don't care about that one. But usually here's what I'm doing is I import my mix down, and then I focus on the low end, what's going on here. I might check the equalizer if everything is all right. Then I push the dynamics to a certain level I desire, and then finally with the maximizer it just again gets the few peaks out of the mix, so that I can really still have a loud mix, but on the other hand really feel comfortable with the dynamics, that everything is in there. And on the one hand, Chris from Omni Music told me that very often he was using I call this demo masters that I sent to him, and it perfectly fits into his compilations usually. But on the other hand, Matthias from Dimby Deep Records, for example, he takes my pre-masters and so means not mastered versions, and runs it through his SSL chain, and then you have the version you hear on the label usually. But still, I think it's worth having such routine to know how to master your tracks, even though they're not published. But on the other hand, if you want to show this to other people, it's kind of published, right? It's kind of released because you show it to other people and they're gonna compare your track to other tracks. So it's really worth think about what is your go-to mastering routine you have, and this works for me. Yeah, here to the right you also see the Logic multimeter, and I can here compare different versions, and this is just how I usually master my tracks to send them out to folks. Going back again a little bit to the more creative side of things, what's going on, let me show you another project, which is this one here, the Power of Pomegranate. And let me show you what's going on here with the drums. Just focus on the drums here, okay? This retiming effect is pure Shaperbox. Let me show you this without the plugin. So I disable it. And with the plugin. So, okay, nice retiming effect, you might say. Maybe this fits into your music or maybe not. But the point here is with Shaperbox, there's so many awesome presets that really, if I do anything, it's not just drums, but also some synthesizer things, or maybe even the voice or anything. I'm usually scrolling through the presets and check if it does anything interesting and creative with my sound, and it really enriches the things what's going on, adds dynamics or adds modulation, for example, or interesting new nuances to the original material. Once you realize how the plugins are working and what's going on and what you really want to have, you can start with creating your own interesting effects, like just, for example, focus on the retiming, or you can have some very interesting filter actions like you might know from the Electron boxes. And also the built-in oscilloscope is quite good. So it's really a versatile, interesting, creative tool. I was really happy that I discovered that one. Nevertheless, I also made another video on another tool that is, in my opinion, completely underrated, which is the Glitch plugin. And here I keep it short because I have already, check out my YouTube channel, I have already a video on this plugin. Usually with Glitch, we also have some interesting presets, but very soon I basically just wipe the preset and init it one, and then start with the, for example, reverser. Yeah, or another effect. But I don't keep it like that. I usually then have my one effect per lane, per scene, and the scenes I'm usually then automating with MIDI, and this is how I'm using Glitch. It's a little bit complicated, to be fair, but you can do so in Ableton Live and also in Bitwig. I think it wasn't really the intention of the interface to do so, but this is the way how I add then kind of more creative glitches into especially my drums. Which brings me to why I'm just using it for drums. I could also use it for other material, but other topic, at least Shaperbox and Glitch are my creative tools for that one. On the other hand, again, you might have your sound and let's say you think your snare or your rim shot is just too thin, but you need something very specific, something very urgently what you have in mind. Then all I'm doing is I go to XO from XLN Audio, and in XO I have loaded all my drums from my sample library. So not sounds or anything really, I'm focusing on drums here. So check this out, here you can see basically all kicks, then here all the snares. Right, and you realize that, say for example this sound, you want to see similar sounds. Yeah. So usually, right, for example, you say you want to have more foundation, you're looking for bass part of your rim shot and you're looking for a very specific sample to just enrich your rim shot, then I go here, find something, add this here to the left to the sample slots, and then have that one just to get more to the desired sound I have in mind. So check out XO, and it's a really nice view of the things they have available. I think there's also a free tool available which is doing the similar thing. I think maybe it's worth a try. I just have this already for 1 or 2 years now, and it does its job. So I'm happy that I have this overview of the samples. And in the past I was using a lot of battery. I still like battery, especially exactly if you know what you want to do, like having that kick and reverse it and maybe add some compressor or maybe play around with the ADSR curve of the sample. But currently it's XO when I'm looking for generic samples, drum samples that have to enrich or have to support my drums that are already existing. Then I have my drums and I might realize, okay, they just don't sound really fat and maybe I still want to beef them up. Then usually what I'm doing is I am having a group of the drums, for example, and I also made another video on my insert channel. So I have an insert channel, just usually if I know if I want to compress things, equalize things, maybe duck them or let them turn left to the right, etc. This is in my insert bus and I can just enable these things. But the last thing here in my chain is the Pre1973 plugin from Arturia. This one, and let me show you all the sounds when I enable it. So again, focus on the drums. Way too much, but you get the idea. So for a very long time I was hesitating using any preamp style plugin. I just thought, what the heck is going on? Why do you need that one? It just doesn't make sense, because usually, especially if the plugin stuff is already on line level, right? Or with my keyboards, everything in my studio is on line level. I don't have any phantom power. But on the other hand, now once you understand what these original preamps are doing, it's not just amplifying the signal to a line level, right? There's also magic going on, especially when it comes to compression and equalizing, and this is what these plugins focus on. And especially I'm liking here this Pre1973 plugin from Arturia, and before that I was using a lot of iZotope Trash, which is doing a similar thing. It's just some nuances, just a little bit there, just a few things I like more about the 73, which is a Neve emulation, Neve 73 preamp. That really convinced me with, it's really enriching my drums, especially like when I want to beef them up or maybe focus on the heights with not just pimping up the heights in the equalizer, for example. So that I really wonder, like, maybe I should get this as a hardware piece in the near future or far future, but it's just currently too expensive for me, to be fair. And the plugin is a really nice way with doing so, and just having this available on any track I want to have. And this is why everyone should check this out at least. So last but not least, what I do not see in any lists, and I don't get it, but let's go back here to my project I just created here for the sake of the video. my M1, and you have seen I just added reverb. Let me just show you without reverb. And with. So for me, this is how a reverb has to sound like, and my go-to reverb number 1 is Native Instruments Replika. And I said this already in 1 or 2 videos, but it's not really famous, and I'm using the diffusion mode in here, and it's just so amazing. I think this is really what it has to sound like. You should have this in mind, and maybe it's more famous to use these days, for example, Valhalla plugins or anything else, but for me, this Replika works, and it's really enriching such like dull sounds so much. I'm really looking for this long-lasting reverb tails that are coming there, and usually in every mixing advice they say like don't do long reverb decay, etc. But I think for atmospheric drum and bass it just works, and Replika supports this idea, so that's why this is my go-to reverb mechanism, even though they call this delay mode here, but for me it sounds like a reverb. So that's it. It's just a few plugins I wanted to talk about, and if you think there was anything that was worth to share with you, let me know so in the comments, or you think I really should exchange something with a different tool, let me know. So what's your opinion? But thanks again for watching my video, and talk to you soon, and see you. Bye.